All right. So this is on page. Let's see here. I'm trying to get there. This is going to be on page. On page 259. Now, what I'm going to do, we're going to get to the pie charts that are on page 259. So get there, 259. Now, what you see on 259, figure 9.3, is based upon data from 2015. Okay. Now, what I'm showing you here is data on from the year 2005. Okay. So what I've done here is I'm going to show you several years of data. And as we've talked about prior to spring break, that we were going to be looking a lot more at statistics as the semester goes on. And here we are. And we are looking at statistics. So what we're looking at here, and I'm going to just give you this. All right, you have to stare at me the whole time. But what we are looking at here is percentage of all income and percentage of all wealth. Okay? And we have two pie charts, and they are broken out by quintiles. And what we mean by quintile is you have the richest 20%, second 20%, third, fourth, and fifth, poorest 20%. Now, what I also want you to see at the very bottom of the slide, once that menu goes away, is that the sources of this are income data from the U.S. Census Bureau, right? Wealth data based upon some additional sources. So this is something that we track in the Census Bureau, okay? Not just population numbers, but the Census Bureau, again, does a lot more research outside of the census survey. But this is data that is collected in our country, and so it's the most accurate, reliable information that we have on these kinds of topics. And as I've told you all prior to spring break, I will be sure to use information as we go forward as the best information we have. And of course, this is also in your textbook. Okay, so what I want to point out to you is some things we want to look at here. Let's look at the pie chart on percent of all income. So this is what inequality looks like, okay? Because if this was equal, then the pie would have equal slices, right? You'd have 20% times 5 would make it 100% of a pie. And of course, that's not what we have. This is 2005, okay? And you can see the breakout here. Now, there's a big difference between these two pie charts, isn't there? So here you have income, and here you have wealth, okay? So let's go back to our handy-dandy dry erase board, and let's look at some things. So when we talk about wealth, what comes to mind, right? So when you have wealth, what is wealth made up of? Well, money, that's income, right? Well, money is not just income. You can think about income is money that you get from a job that you have. But do you get access to money by not having a job, by not working? Well, some people do. Some people are born into wealth, and they have money and wealth that's passed down from their family to them. So I didn't work to earn that. It was given to me by my parents, for example, okay? That's a fundamental part of wealth. But when we think about wealth, what else is made up of wealth? Okay? Anything of value, of economic value. So we do have income, money, we have stocks, we have assets. Sometimes we think of property. And those are the general items that make up wealth. What's in your savings account? Do you own a lot of jewelry? Do you own a lot of property? All that is the economic value that's tied into wealth. Okay, so why is wealth so much larger, the pie, for the richest 20% than everybody else? Okay, so income is important, is an important predictor for wealth, but wealth is more than just income. Okay, however, let's look at something. So, here's some things I want to point out to you about this. All right. Explain what is negative 1%. All right. Negative 1%. So the richest 20% account for 84% of all the wealth. The poorest 20% account for negative 1%. What is negative 1%? That is debt. Okay. That is debt. So this is an interesting dynamic. We start looking at this. If you add 1 minus 1 is 0, all right? The bottom 40% of families in the United States in 2005 had no wealth, all right? So when I start covering this information with students, this is usually an eye-opener. People are more and more getting an idea that there's income inequality in our society. And that's what this accounts for over here, this pie chart, income inequality. But this is a much, much different story. And one of the questions, obviously, is why is this so much higher for everybody else? And why is this so much higher than income? Now, I, right now, am working to make a paycheck. Wouldn't it be nice if I had enough money to put in the stock market to make money on my behalf? I don't have to work for that. So most people, as is illustrated in this income chart and this wealth chart, most people work to make money to pay bills. And at the end of the day, they don't have a lot of money left over to earn wealth. Okay? Now, what's ideal about wealth is that if I need more money, I don't have to go work more hours or work another job. I could just pull down my wealth and use that to offset any expenses or any debt that I may have incurred. Okay? All right, so now the next question is, well, that's 2005, guesser. So I want you to watch this. Watch what we see here, these numbers. Let's just focus on the top 20% in income and the top 20% in wealth. And I'm going to run you through some different charts here. This is 2005. This is 2006. Numbers haven't changed too much. This is 2009, I believe. Now these charts are starting to look like the ones that's in your textbook. But again, you see these numbers haven't changed very much. As a matter of fact, here, the wealth gap is larger now than it was in 2005. What I'm trying to illustrate to you is that you have to look at data over time. And also illustrating to you that this inequality of income and wealth is not new. This has been around for quite some time. And then here's the most recent data that's in your textbook. It's kind of hard to see on this chart, and I apologize for that, but look in your textbook, right? And so now, a while ago, we had negative 1% in 2005 in the bottom 20% of families. And you can see here in 2015, it's negative 1.4. So more people are showing no wealth or are in debt in 2015 compared to 2005 over that 10-year time period. Something I want to conclude on here is this chart. This is pretty remarkable. Now, this is going to be found on page 269. So I'll give you a chance to turn to page 269. So what I was just showing you, that last pie chart, was based upon data from this year right here, 2015, okay? What you're looking at now is the change in income of U.S. families from 1980 down here to 2015. Okay. And what you see here, and you might want to look at your chart more closely on page 269. Okay. If you look at the bottom 20%, you can see the change from 1980 to 2015 is negative 1.1%. So average annual income over that 35-year time period. Oh, that's our timer. So let's wrap this up, and then we'll close down this lecture. But so annual income for U.S. families from that 35-year time period actually declined for the bottom 20%. Well, you can see what's going on here. As you go up the income ladder, the next 20% increased by 11.7. The next 20% increased by 22.1. The next 34.2. And then when you look at the very top, it increased by 67%. Sometimes you may have heard of the phrase, the rich get rich, the poor get poor. That's kind of what this data is illustrating. But I like to tell students the rich get really rich. They make a lot more money. And the poorer you are, the less money you make. Well, what explains this?